Okay then, Helldivers, welcome back to another video. Today we're inside of Helldivers 2, and this seems to be a little bit of a quiet weekend as we move towards a Sunday where Arrowhead's team have got their time off over the weekend, and there's nothing really going on as far as leaks or community news. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. Although we take a look at the war table right now, you can see that we have got 2 days and 11 hours remaining on the clock for the major order, so nothing to compare here. The only thing we need to really focus on is the Mantis planet right here, which is currently in a defend mission for the next 24 hours, which is one of our 5 planets that we need to be holding by the time this expires in 2 days and 11 hours. Expect maybe another defense operative coming through as the campaigns run out towards the last 24 hours of the major order. But with that being said, there's not really anything else that you guys need to be looking at inside of the game other than stopping those damn automatons from attacking our breaches. What's that going to mean? We're going to be doing a ranking from worst to best. And what is it we're going to be ranking? Warbonds. Whether you're a brand new player looking to buy your first premium Warbond out of the 5 available, or if you guys are an experienced player looking to add another Warbond to your collection, there seems to be a few that you guys can get your hands on next up. So we're going to be giving you guys my personal opinion on the ranking of worst to best Warbonds inside of the game right now, of which you should be getting next. Let's get a conversation going on in the comment section down below, and let's stay democratic and make sure that we stay true and make sure that we have a little bit of respect in the comment section as well. This is down to personal opinion, not straight facts, so never take my word for it, but this is just based off of my personal experience. So moving in to the first one that we've got going on right here is the Polar Patriots. This is coming in at number 5, the worst Warbond on the listing for me, and it's a pretty standard reason as to why. I had a really high hope for this Warbond, but it just never really cut the mark. As of right now, the Tenderizer does seem to be at its best potential point and one of the best assault rifles that you guys can get in the game right now. Although, unfortunately, on release, this thing didn't even launch with the correct skin, let alone being any good. This thing was freaking useless. It's well useful now, and it's worth grabbing your hands on, as well as the second weapon that we had, which is the Pummeler, the submachine gun attached to it as well. It's still a viable option for mostly against bugs and not really against bots in my personal opinion, but it seems to do the job. Definitely 2 viable pieces, but it can't carry an entire Warbond. When we start to look at the armor sets that were entailed in this, though, they had this one right here, the Winter Warrior, which had the increased throwing range by 30% and 50% limb health. Wasn't ever really utilized too much for me, and it looked pretty damn dead. The colorization on this Warbond didn't really match up to everything that we thought we were going to be getting, especially with the armor passive. I just didn't understand it at all. This is a Polar Patriots, and this armor set specifically provides 50% resistance to explosive damage. Make it make sense. When we take a look at the final piece though right here, this was a decent armor passive with Scout, but obviously you can get this one in the free Warbond as well. So again, no real reason for you guys to get your hands on it. The Purifier was absolutely awful, and for me was just never really something worth using. I know a lot of people do swear by it, but this weapon for me just didn't do enough to really hold on for what it was actually worth. Being a page 3 weapon, I expected a lot more from this thing. That's just me. But it is a medium armor penetrator with a charge up and explosive, so if you can make it work, fair play. Next up we have got the Verdict right here, and this one was a okay weapon and a lot of people genuinely did enjoy it. I personally wasn't about it, but I know a lot of people who used it in most of their loadout usages. This right now is not really utilized all that much, so as an overall, you pretty much have a primary or 2 to utilize at this moment in time after the most recent patch. After that point, it's pretty much useless. Even the Incendiary Impact, I really do like using this, and that's only because I like explosions. Other than that, this thing doesn't have much of an impact as far as what an actual impact grenade does, which makes no sense to me at all. And the explosion on this with the fire rate just seems to cause a bit of a kerfuffle, especially if you're playing with randoms. So use it at your own risk. So your 5th place for me is the Polar Patriots. Moving into the next one though, this one is going to be controversial. This one for me at number 4 is the Cutting Edge Warbond. Now this was the 2nd iteration that we actually received into the Warbond usage, and it just didn't seem to do much for me. I know full well what you guys are going to say, and a lot of things that really do hit home with the increased the time between enemy encounters worked really well during eradicate missions, yada yada yada, uses that from time to time. And if you're a collector of the boosters, which I would recommend having as many of them as you can, definitely change the game every so often, then fair play, go for that one. But when we take a look at the actual weapons on this, I can't remember the last time I saw somebody use a sickle. I just can't. It was a good weapon against the bugs, but it was relatively useless in my personal opinion. The light armor penetrator just didn't give enough of a punch for the buck. The Plasma Punisher, really, really good against automatons, and I actually use this one a fair amount against the automatons, but it is a chunky mother trucker. You guys are going to be having to reload this quite frequently, and it has a bit of an odd shot range to it. The fall off on this does change from time to time during patch usages, but as of right now, it seems to be an okay option for you guys to use against the bot buggers. Other than that though, there doesn't seem to be much in here. If I have to say anything about the Blitzer, then I'm going to shoot myself in the face, so take that as you wish, but this thing just is absolutely useless for me. I know some people that do use it, but I am definitely not a fan, as well as the secondary weapon that we had, the pistol right here, the LAS-7 dagger. Again, this thing may as well had a nerf label on the side of it because it did absolutely nothing in my regards. Now, at the point in time though with these armor sets, this one was a bit of a controversial use because realistically, every single armor piece inside of this Warbond all had the same passive. It just ran on different heavy points. So a lot of you guys will be using some of these armor sets now, although you'll only be using them at certain stages because there's not much to run from when it comes to that arc damage source. It was utilized a lot when the Tesla were actually utilized quite a bit, but they were during the lower levels of the game, of which now there's not many of us left that are hitting those lower levels. So the 95% resistance to arc damage may not be exactly what you think it will be. So for me, an okay Warbond, but it's not really stemming much further than that. So the 4th slot on this goes to the Cutting Edge Warbond. Moving on from that though, and number 3, we have the Viper Commandos. Now yes, this is the newest iteration of the Warbonds that we have in tow, and this one is a bit of a dodge one because they changed these Warbonds up, and this is the first of its kind. And by the sounds of it, this is how it's going to be in the future, mainly because of these things right here. Yep, a hell pod pattern and also a pattern for your exosuit. Really helpful. Really helpful. They took the spots for a lot of other things, of which a weapon was definitely the case. The only weapon that we had inside of this primary wise was the AR-23A Liberator Carbine, and this thing is bloody useless. I was gutted by this because this is so fun to shoot, so fun to shoot. It feels so damn good, but this thing just has no bang for its buck at all, and it has no positives. It pretty much goes in the trash with every other Liberator known to man. As well as the secondary weapon, this right here was the Bushwhacker, the triple round shotgun that works quite well actually. You can shoot halfway through reloading, you can cancel the reloads, you can triple up and shoot 3 barrels in one go, or you can shoot them all individually. This has become quite a decent usage for me as far as my general loadout. I use it quite frequently and it's quite fun to fire. Other than that, I can't see much use for anything else inside of this right now. I know a lot of people are using the peak physique usage where it improves the weapon's handling and less drag on the weapon movement. I don't feel it enough to make a massive switch over to this. I maybe used the armor sets, which both, yes, have the exact same armor passive on it. I maybe used it for about day 1. After day 1, I didn't really extend out too far into it because it just wasn't really worth the gradient for me. The only thing that was quite cool though for me was this right here, the PH9 Predator, which was a really cool cosmetic look, and if it's got a red beret on it, you know Cloud's going to be rocking it. I love the red. I'm really sorry, but it just won me over straight away. Maybe that's why I was so excited about this Warbond dropping. As far as an overall though, I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to leave this here. Read the comment section. That's all I'm saying. And then we have the experimental infusion, which in addition to restoring health, sims temporarily increase movement speed and damage reduction, causing trembling. Now this one is a very, very interesting one, and one thing that everybody is enjoying using at the moment, and no matter whether you've got one or your fire team have got one, it is going to cause for a very, very interesting run through with a lot of yellow edges. Very worth grabbing, but maybe not something that you want to grab straight off the bat. Going into the number 2 spots though, very oddly is this one here, the Democratic Detonation Warbond. Now this one was one for the ages. This worked in a very, very unique aspect because, well, everything looked a little bit interesting, and actually, by the most part, we were all quite excited for this one. The main reason for it is the armor cosmetics looked pretty damn cool. Everything had its key features to run alongside the way that the Warbond was meant to operate, and the colorations of everything seemed to run in tangent, and everything looked really, really cool. The Eruptor is pretty useful now, but it's not been that way the whole damn time. We'll get into the weapons in just a second, but the armor sets let this one down quite a lot. The engineering kit on the page 1 armor made a bit of a confusion statement, alongside the engineering kit on the page 2 armor made a little bit of a confusing statement, and the fortified armor passive for a Democratic Detonation Warbond. This Warbond had a lot of controversy behind it. This right here is the exploding crossbow. I used this a handful of times, and then I have used it after the patch just to go back to it to try and build up this video and see what it actually felt like, and I just would never go back to it. This is definitely the Marmite inside of the game. You either like this thing or you bloody hate it, and for me, I cannot stand the exploding crossbow. This is used a lot for me when it comes to search and destroys. The grenade pistol is really, really good for bug holes and stuff like that. It runs in a very easy usage. You've got around 8 rounds that you can reload through, one at a time. Bang, bang, bang. Happy days. Gives you an added 8 grenades for those search and destroy bug hole usages. The armor sets, again, pretty damn boring. They look quite cool cosmetically, but unless you're willing to use certain things, the Demolition Specialist would probably be my only run through, just because it gives me an added extra 2 grenades. But when we take a look into this one right here, you obviously have again the added 2 grenades. So other than that, which you can get in most other armor pieces, it definitely wouldn't be worth it. The Adjudicator, atrocious. This again had such a high anticipation for it. We were all well looking forward to it, and it looked absolutely incredible, but Jesus Christ, this thing launched with an absolute lackluster. Even right now, I won't see anybody that's using the Adjudicator. It just doesn't happen all that often. As an overall, it seems like a lot of negatives, but there does seem to be some positive usages as well. Unfortunately, the Thermite is definitely not one of them. This thing was meant to be the saving grace for chargers, and we were meant to be able to burn through the armor chunks, and it just, again, didn't happen. This Warbond is okay, and it's got its key features, such as the grenade pistol, some of the armor sets that you may well want, and the Eruptor is absolutely great now. Again, it never used to be, but the medium armor penetrating with the explosion works in a really, really good tangent. So I would definitely say that you need to get your hands on that one, as well as this one right here, which is the Expert Extraction Pilot, which lowers the time it takes for the extraction shuttle to reach the extraction beacon. Now, this is a matter of seconds based on what I've seen online as far as actual experiments. I haven't actually done the tests myself and timed everything down to the T, but after seeing everything that people have posted up through Reddit and videos, this thing is literally a matter of seconds, and probably a bit of a waste to a booster slot in my personal opinion. So that's taken our number 2 slot, which oddly enough puts me into my first number 1 slot, which is the first ever premium Warbond that we actually obtained, the Steeled Veterans. Now, why is this my number 1 slot? This one is actually pretty damn obvious. The way that they utilized this Warbond as an overall actually makes so much sense. This one for me, the reason why it worked so well is because it did exactly what it was supposed to do. The weapons right at the beginning, when it launched off, we had the Liberator Concussive. If you're relatively new to the game in the lower levels, this will become your best friend straight off the bat. This is essentially your original weapon that you've already got, but obviously it is a concussive. It causes quite a lot of stagger and it runs really, really nicely. This one right here is the Senator. Just hop onto Reddit, you'll see what people say about the Senator. This thing has got such a high reputation for it, it's hilarious, and I absolutely love it. The rounds reloaded. We need a fast reloader for this though. They exist. They exist. We just need to get a fast reloader for this because it would just make this thing so freaking OP. It's insane. It just is so much fun. This right here is the renowned piece that had just obtained actually the graphic back on its visor, because that was just a red block for the longest time period, and they've now given us the graphic back for it. But a lot of you guys will run this on the most time periods, increasing the throwing range and providing the 50% limb health. Again, not too useful. It's hilarious that you provide 50% limb health when you then became half a mechanical man. Anywho, moving forward into that though, we have the incendiary grenades, which again I used for quite some time. They run really, really helpful, and if you guys are running the impact incendiary grenades, then this will be the one that you want to run off of, because it has a bit more of a timer impact rather than an explosion on impact, which is a mouthful to say out loud, but it makes it sense. We have the same armor passive on here for the servo assisted. Again, may not be using it too much, but the design on this thing was absolutely awesome. With the little shoulder cam, it just made sense. This was something that they lost a lot of when it came to the personality of their Warbonds. This, the Breaker Incendiary. I don't know a single Helldiver that does not use this on a regular basis, mainly when going into bugs. This has got such a high reputation, it is insane. This is a full autoed shotgun that you can just pummel into people using incendiary rounds, setting everything ablaze as you go through. If you haven't got this, then you're absolutely mental. If you've not got any Warbond, definitely start with number 1 and get the Stilled Veterans and make your way over to the Breaker Incendiary. The Dominator. Now this thing is really, really good now against the automatons. It never used to be, and it had quite a really bad reputation for it on the MOVE rule, but the medium armor penetrating is really, really good. This thing kicks, man, especially with the bots. For some reason, it's my go-to for bots, and it just packs enough of a punch that you guys can knock those things flying left, right, and center. This right here is the flexible reinforcement. It reduces the time new reinforcements are granted once they've been depleted. I never really bothered with it too much. It did not faze me whatsoever. We didn't really get that far into it, so whether it's a decent amount of time or not, I'll be honest, I could never tell you. I never ever used it, but we didn't ever really run down to 0 people in our teams, so it's just the way we kind of operate it. And this right here is the Dynamo, which again has a servo assisted, but it has the coloration of the armor sets. This was probably the better designed Warbond in my personal opinion. I am just giving you my personal opinion. Overall, you should have enough fun with this thing right here and just start claiming everything that's through this, because this thing is a whacker and a half, man. It's a whacker and a half. But that's just my personal opinion on the Warbonds from worst to best, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Even if you don't agree, then make sure you get into the comment section and let me know why, and want some conversations about it. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll be back to our normal upload schedule tomorrow with some more Helldivers news. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate your faces, and as always, I'll see you in the clouds.